Sometimes life doesn't defeat us because we are weak. Life defeats us because we believe we are weak. This is the story of a boy who lived most of his life in silence until he discovered the strength that had been inside him all along. In a peaceful town lived a boy named Aeon. He was thoughtful, kind, and polite. The kind of person who never wished harm on anyone, but he had one weakness that shaped his entire childhood. He did not believe in himself. He wasn't born lacking confidence. It slowly died each time someone judged him. When relatives saw him, they said, "He's so quiet. Something is wrong with him." Classmates joked, "If we give him a dictionary, he still won't talk." Even his own father would say in frustration, "Why can't you be confident like your brother?" Aeon never answered, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't have the courage to exist loudly. At school, he knew the answers, but never raised his hand. He wanted friends, but feared rejection. He wanted to shine, but he was terrified of attention. So he shrank into the background, hoping the world wouldn't notice his trembling heart. One day, the teacher announced a speech competition. Every student had to speak on stage. No excuses. Aeon felt the floor collapse beneath his feet. That night, he cried quietly under his blanket. He hated competitions, hated the stage, but most of all, he hated being afraid. The next day, after class, the teacher called him aside. She didn't lecture or scold him. Instead, she placed a small mirror in front of him and said softly, "Aeon, the world does not think you are weak. You think you are weak, and the world only sees what you show." He looked at himself, really looked, and for the first time, he saw a frightened boy hiding behind fear. The teacher continued, "Fear does not disappear by avoiding things. It disappears when you face them, even if your voice shakes." Those words planted a seed. That night, Aeon did something he had never done before. He stood in front of the mirror and practiced his speech. His voice trembled. He stuttered. He forgot lines. He felt foolish, but he didn't stop. On the second night, he practiced again. It still wasn't perfect, but perfection wasn't the point anymore. On the third night, he felt something new, not confidence, but courage. The day of the competition arrived. His hands were shaking. His mouth was dry. His heart was racing. When his name was called, his legs almost refused to move. But he took one step, then another, and stood on stage. He looked at the audience, and fear punched him in the chest. But then he remembered the mirror. He straightened his back, took a deep breath, and spoke. The first few lines were shaky, but the audience wasn't laughing. No one was judging. People were listening. His voice grew stronger. His hands stopped shaking. He looked up, and for the first time in his life, he felt seen. When he finished, there was silence for a moment, and then applause filled the room. He didn't win first place, but he won something far bigger. He won himself. Aeon didn't transform overnight, but from that day forward, fear didn't control him anymore. He started raising his hand in class. He made new friends. He joined school clubs. He tried new things without worrying about failure. Each challenge built a little more confidence, like a muscle growing stronger. Years later, Aeon became a successful businessman, invited to speak at conferences around the world. Thousands came to hear him, the boy who once feared speaking to even one person. One day, a young student asked him, "Sir, how did you become so confident? Were you always like this?" Aeon smiled and replied, "No, I wasn't born confident. I built confidence. And if I could build it, anyone can." Confidence is not the absence of fear. Confidence is the decision to act despite fear. You don't need perfection to begin. You don't need everyone's approval. You don't need to have everything figured out. You need only the courage to take the first step. Because the moment you believe in yourself, the world begins to believe in you too.